Hi, my name is Chris Scott and I'm here with Christophe Jaume. How are you, Christophe?
I'm fine, thank you, Chris.
Excellent.
And I hope you too.
You're from Domaine Grand Veneer.
This is Alain, Jaume et Fils. Alain is my father.
Yeah.
And inside Alain, Jaume et Fils, you'll find different estate name. You'll find Domaine Grand Veneer in Chateauneuf-du-Pape and Côte-du-Rhône. You'll find Domaine du Clos Sixte in Lirac, and you'll find Château Mazane in Vacqueyrays.
Okay, so you've got a number of different domains, but they're all under the head of the sort of producer, Alain Jaume.
Exactly, this is a family.
Excellent, excellent. What I want to do is just talk a wee bit about some of the idiosyncrasies of Chateauneuf-du-Pape since you're here, and then maybe in another podcast we'll talk about some of these other regions like Lirac and Tavel and etc. So before we get into it, Chateauneuf-du-Pape probably is most famous because it was the first appellation, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was a place where a lawyer called Baron Leroy got the idea to explain to the producers in the 1930, something like that. He told them, look, there is a crisis. We were just after the First World War.
Yep.
Things were not easy for anyone. And he said, maybe if we want to be better, to do better than our neighbor, it seems we already have a specific soil, and we know we have the rocks. We have Chateauneuf-du-Pape is unique in terms of geology. So let's do a delimitation. And inside this delimitation, I will ask you to do some effort to reduce your yield, to do some kind of pruning, to do some sorting, to do a better job than what is doing the other appellation. And if it works, then we can get more renown, and maybe the price, the value of your wine will be better than the neighbor. And this is how Chateauneuf-du-Pape was created at the beginning.
He must have been quite a convincing character, though, because
he was a lawyer, so really he was good. Yeah.
yeah. Wine was the first real appellation, wasn't it, as well? So how did he convince, because appellations needed government?
Oh, but following Chateauneuf-du-Pape, some other appellations have been created. I think that was really a period of time that this idea convinced different regions. I know that in Jura also there is an appellation which was created just after Chateauneuf-du-Pape. So just to say that that was a national reflections, but the fact the lawyer was in Chateauneuf make it happen that the first AOC was in Chateauneuf.
So it was a movement in France.
Was kind of movement. This movement was only for some appellations, not a lot of them. If you consider about Lirac is classified cru level since 1947, so quite few after. Vacqueyrays is cru level from only 30 years. It's not so long time. So that was just depending of the involvement of each growers in their appellation.
Okay. We've sort of jumped in the 1930s, but originally, why is it called Chateauneuf-du-Pape? It's something to do with the popes, isn't it?
So you have the Avignon city. When you are in the castle of Chateauneuf, you can see Avignon if you have good eyes. And in fact, the castle have been built in Chateauneuf for the Pope, by the Pope. And they were used to come here for their just vacation, for their weekends.
If you go into Chateauneuf-du-Pape township, is that the sort of building that's ruined on the hillside? That's the original Pope's?
Yeah, but unfortunately, because of the world wars, it have been dramatically damaged.
Yeah. Well, it looks...
only have one tower now, but it used to be bigger than what it is today.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
And they're not going to repair it, they're just going to...
No, well, from what I know, they are not.
No, fair enough. It's probably more dramatic, isn't it? So the popes used to come here and from Italy?
Yeah, exactly. They stayed here for 100 years or something like that, and then they came back to
So the Chateauneuf-du-Pape, what does neuf mean?
Neuf is new in French.
So the chateau of the new Pope?
Yeah.
Oh, lovely. Okay, and that's how the name got it. And then we've just found out about the appellations.
Yeah, the name of the village gave the name of the appellation.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, Chateauneuf-du-Pape's in Southern Rhone, though. And I've just been up in Northern Rhone having a look around, and it was nice and still and quiet up there. But by the time I got down here, it started to blow quite a lot. It was fairly windy when we got down here. That's the Mistral, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, this is one of the main advantage of the Southern Rhone compared to the Northern Rhone. Because when you say Rhone Valley, in fact, you could talk about two different vineyards. We have two different kind of soil, completely different, and two different weather. Here from, let's say, Montélimar to the south, you have the Mistral, which is a strong wind which blow through the Rhone Valley and which, of course, clear the sky and give you more light. So it's between the Alps and the mountains in central France. You have this air, this massive air coming from the north that is pressed into this two chain of mountains, and
it's the Central Massif and the the Swiss Alps
and the Alps, the French Alps,
the French Alps.
That you get this this effect of wind of Mistral, which is a great thing for us because I think we are the only one in terms of work. We are the only person, the people who are working the agricultural plants, we can get benefit of it. It's a natural treatment, so it makes sense that when you have Mistral, you have no humidity, you have more sun, you have no disease. It's the cheapest and more effective treatment you can get.
Oh, because you're organic great. As well, so that makes a difference.
We are organic, and to be honest with you, that is a great advantage that help us when you are organic. I can understand organic is much more difficult to manage in Champagne or in Burgundy or in Bordeaux because of the weather and the humidity you can get. Well, we are south of France. It's a Mediterranean weather.
Yeah.
So you got warmer.
Warm days, warm winters,
Winters can be very cold because of the Mistral. Never forget it. If you are here one day with a Mistral by 100 kilometers and it's just 0 or 2 or 3 degrees, you remember it because it's like you feel it's minus 20. So it's a difference between the true temperature and the feeling.
But that Mistral does have implications for the vineyard because originally Chateauneuf-du-Pape had a lot of bush vines, and my understanding is one of the reasons they have bush vines is because they're nice and low to the ground, so they don't get blown and buffeted around as much. Yeah,
it's partly correct, but if you are back again to 1930 or before, because the vineyards was planted before 1930, of course. Think about it. There were no trellising or posts in the vineyards 100 years ago because people would not buy for this at this time. So you could find some posts for the Sierra, probably, because there will be a titan to the posts. But today we do differently. We still have the Grenache in bush vines.
What is it called? Gobelet?
Gobelet is bush vines, okay? And today, because of new technology, because of everything, of course, you can use trellising with wire and posts. So as I enjoy to explain you that we like to have a high post, to have a maximum of length in terms of shoots. More you have length, more you have leaves. More you have leaves, more you have photosynthesis. And when you know that the photosynthesis is the base of the construction of tannins, sugar, which is first is sugar, but then coming from the sugar, you have the tannins, you have the color, you have the aromatic, you have everything. So We are in a region, the vineyards do not show very well thin cut. We don't cut the shoots.
Yeah. If you go through Bordeaux, you see everything's nice and square and lovely and neat.
Yeah, which is very strict and very... Here it's different. We have the wind, which makes the trees a bit strange because they are a bit...
leaning over.
Exactly. So it's true for the trees, it's true for the vines. And then it's important to have this length of shoots. We don't see the interest to cut it always.
I heard, I'm not sure if it's true, but I heard that if you've got a bush vine and the plants are growing up, a bush vine compared to say a cordon or a goya or another trellising method, the bush vine, that you keep the humidity within the plant so you don't lose as much moisture because it's quite dry here, isn't it?
Well, it depends. Could be.
It's been wet for the last few days, but often it can be quite dry down there.
Yeah, sure. But once again, I think it's today it's still again the tradition of bush vines for Chateauneuf-du-Pape. But in Côte-du-Rhône, in Lirac, in Vacqueyrays, in many appellations, we can have the Grenache in trellising, in cordon, and trust me, the result is positive as well. So I think in Chateauneuf we just keep and remain like we were 100 years ago, but in terms of technical things, there's no huge differences, I think, in terms of result, quality and result.
You mentioned about the pudding stones. What do you call them? Goulet?
The galets.
Galets?
Galets, these rocks.
Yeah.
These rocks of quartz, which are covering the soil. So in fact, the soil, the typical soil of Chateauneuf, or Lirac, and of our vineyard, Les Champs-Pauvins, is about the fact in this place, about 1 million year and 1.5 million years ago, you had the river, you had the Rhone River, which carried all these rocks from the Alps, and they are rounded, so we say galets roulés. You say
pudding stones,
rounded pebbles, or
pebbles. Yeah, because when rocks go through rivers, all the edges get knocked off, and they'll end up quite smooth and quite round, don't they?
Yeah, exactly. The only place on this earth we've seen so much of them.
Yeah, they're quite big as well. They're big, chunky ones.
They're big, and they are on the soils and deeper in the soil as well.
And what do they do to the temperature, or what do they do to the environment?
The funny thing is that the temperature of a rock during summer, so in August, like today, well, today is different because we have the Mistral, which cool down a little bit the temperature. But in a normal summer day, a rock heated by the sun will reach 55 degrees Celsius, which means if you take one in your hand, after 3-4 seconds, you throw it because it's going to burn your hand.
Really?
So that's step by step and day by day kind of heater for the vines.
Yep.
And that's also explain why when you taste our reds, you start with a fleshy, fruity and fleshy mouth, which is in fact the representation of the galet roulé, of the rock, which is rounded and which gives more maturity and add more finesse to the tannins. That's about Chateauneuf typicity, the power and together the feminine touch.
One of the things about Chateauneuf-du-Pape is that it allows so many different grape varieties. People used to say there was 13 grape varieties allowed in Chateauneuf-du-Pape, and then we were talking earlier and you said there's 14, and Wikipedia says there's 18 grape varieties. What's going on there? Yeah,
so it depends how you see it, but I like to say that books will talk about 13 grapes. We like to say, growers like to say in Chateauneuf that it's more truly 14 grapes, because we have Grenache white for the white Chateauneuf and Grenache red, which is the main grape for the reds. However, we all know it exists some Clairette white and rose. It exists some Grenache gris as well. but they represent very, very, very small percentage in the appellation, and whatever they are called Clairette or Grenache. So let's make it short and easy for everyone. 13 grapes is a story, 14 is a truth, and you can be wrong if you say 16.
Okay. You've got a range of wines from all over the Southern Rhone, and I think the wine that you seemed most excited about was your Lirac.
Well, Lirac is an upcoming outsider for Southern Rhone. Well, this is what we believe. Based, so as you know, from in Chateauneuf-du-Pape, Lirac is just facing us. And Lirac, if you do a little bit of geology, it's an appellation which gets the same influence from the Rhone River millions of years ago. So you find again the plateau of rocks. And in 2003, when I joined my father, we decided with Sébastien, my brother, to cross the river and to buy some land, some vineyards. They were planted already, and we believe that would be a good bet because the soil was great, and that was our job to make known that the results in the vines can be great as well. So we created the domain du Claude Sixte and started to sell it and suggest it to our clients in US, in UK, everywhere. And most of the key players, they were looking after it, and they was looking after also the press reviews, which were very good, always very good recommendation for the Claude Sixte. And step by step, it started to work. And today, we are glad because we can see that every 6 months a new estate in Chateauneuf invests in Lirac, which means the potential is probably good. We were probably right. Yeah.
So it's got similar soils to Chateauneuf-du-Pape with the pudding stones, etc. And you're making a red wine out of it that, to me, I tasted it. I quite liked it, actually. I thought it was really, really nice. And it was sort of quite big and gutsy, a bit like a Chateauneuf-du-Pape. But they also make a rosé over in Lirac as well. Do you make that?
Yes, we used to do, in fact, Claude Sixte Rosé. That was at the beginning. We decided to stop it simply because rosé is, it's a difficult market. Even if it's an increasing market in the world, in France and in the world, the Lirac Rosé was great in quality, but it was not so known when we started to do it in 2003. And Tavel is just next door to Lirac, so.
And Tavel's the more famous rosé, isn't
it? Exactly. It has a name. They are exclusive to rosé. And if you do a fresh Tavel with a good concentration, you enter more easily the market. So we decided to move to Tavel for the rosé and keep the reds in Lirac.
And what grape varieties do you use for your Tavel?
Well, you are based on the same kind of blends and for all the other appellation around the region. So Grenache, Syrah are the main grapes. You'll find a little bit of Mourvèdre as well. And sometimes a bit of Cinsault. That's possible. But really, truly, the game is in between Grenache and Syrah.
Okay, excellent. You mentioned there was a couple of other sort of Chateauneuf-du-Pape lookalikes, that you're quite excited about Lirac because you think it's like Chateauneuf-du-Pape but a bit cheaper, which I kind of like because I'm a bit tight that way. But there was the Gigondas.
Gigondas, yes.
And that's often associated as a Chateauneuf-du-Pape lookalike.
Well, Lirac is an outsider. I explain why, and I'm sure soon this appellation will be much more known. Vacqueyrays and Gigondas are opposite side, of Chateauneuf-du-Pape, or the other side of the appellation.
So if Chateauneuf-du-Pape
is in between.
Yeah, you've got Lirac and Tavel on one side, and Gigondas and Vacqueyrays on the other.
Exactly.
So Vacqueyrays and Gigondas are about 2:00 on a clock.
Yeah. Okay.
And Lirac and Tavel are more like 8:00.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Well,
right.
I don't know. Or northeast versus
It's more,
southwest.
it's east and west. So whatever, we are at Grand Veneur well located. We are in between so these areas. And to us, it's only 15 minutes driving to go to Lirac or 15-minute driving to go to Vacqueyras. So that's next door. And this is why we have developed some vineyards there. It's always a new story, a new wine, a new terroir. So that's how you can build your range of Southern Rhone. Gigondas is more the dentelle de Montmirail. So Montmirail, the Gigondas we own is called Terrasse de Montmirail. So, which is the name of the place. Montmirail is a small mountain that you find at the bottom of Gigondas.
Yeah.
And this soil is much more rocky, but not rocky like the Galets Roulés of Chateauneuf. It's rocky like the rocks, completely the true rocks you can climb. This terroir. It's on slopes and everything. So the maturation comes at least 2 weeks after Chateauneuf-du-Pape, sometimes 3 weeks. And you get something very different. It's more in altitude as well.
So it's higher, slopey hills.
Yeah, it can reach, I think Gigondas can reach about nearly 400 meters altitude, which is quite high. So it's had differentiation and it gives you something very different. You should not be able to miss in a blind tasting to miss a Chateauneuf versus a Gigondas. In terms of taste, that's the big boy, a bit rude, maybe Gigondas, with gentleman farmer with more softness, sweetness, silky tannins, which will be more Chateauneuf-du-Pape.
Okay, just recap, just so I make sure. So you think Chateauneuf-du-Pape should be softer, sweeter, riper?
It is riper and more
filling,
a touch more elegant and feminine, maybe in tannins. Yeah. When Gigondas has more strength and a bit more
rustic.
Sometimes can be a touch rustic in terms of typicity.
So you get a bit more tannins as well?
Tannins and a bit more harshness when it's young. Will require more 2-3 years of aging. Yeah.
What about Vacqueyrays?
And Vacqueyras is at the bottom, which is a flat plateau of pebble. And Vacqueyras...
Pebbles as in Chateauneuf-du-Pape pebbles?
Completely different. No, small pebble.
Pebbles.
Completely different. But Vacqueyras' main place, the most known place is called Les Garrigues. And this is where we are with our vineyard called Château Mazanne. And Vacqueyras is typically the one that... if you blind taste it, you put your nose in the glass and you are in Provence. Welcome with these aromas of rosemary, of pepper, of mint a little bit, of licorice. It's typically the one that make you believe you are in vacation. This typicity is on a yearly basis present in our Vacqueyras.
Okay. Probably the big wine region that we haven't mentioned is sort of the one that encompasses everything, really, and that's Côtes du Rhône. Mm-hmm. Technically, you can get Côtes du Rhône from Northern Rhone as well, but I don't think anybody makes any Côtes du Rhône up there. It's all under appellation. But Côtes du Rhône is a massive area, isn't it? That's where most of the production is.
So we are the second largest AOC appellation in France after Bordeaux in terms of size. Plus or less, just Côtes du Rhône is 40,000 hectares of vineyards. And you're right, Côtes du Rhône is wide, is large, so you'll find, of course, different style and kind of Côtes du Rhône, depending where are the soils. You experimented our Côtes du Rhône. We are in Chateauneuf, so of course our Côtes du Rhône gives more intensity, power than most Côtes du Rhône. But once again, it's also our reputation to produce cru level wines, and so our Côtes du Rhône are upgraded.
Yeah. Normally, you'd expect sort of a Côte de Rhone to be sort of quite medium in body and quite light and fruity, whereas your one was more like a Côte de Rhone village or something where there was quite a strong tannin structure there. You know, it had a bit of guts to it, and there was good length and fruit intensity on the nose as well. So it was quite a step up from your standard Côte de Rhone. There's 3 quality levels, isn't there? There's Côte de Rhone village. And then there's Côte de Rhone village, and then they can put the name of the village on there, can't they?
Yeah, that's for fun, just to add the complication.
Yeah.
Welcome to France.
Yeah, but the quality should, and obviously yours is a slightly different situation, but you'd expect the wine to become more structured and better quality, would you, and more concentrated as you move up through that?
Yeah, this is what you can expect because you'll pay a bit more if you go to a Côte de Rhone village or if you go to a Côte de Rhone village with the name of the village. So you expect more concentration because you expect also a touch more of ability of aging. It makes sense that in an appellation with so large terroir, you find different kind of style. And hopefully, I think we have a different style. Some fruity driven Côte de Rhone will please some consumer. The fact is we are working our vineyards organic. We have lower yields than most growers because we believe that the Grenache gets its true expression when it's produced like this. But in the same times, we have no wines in supermarket. We only work with restaurants, with sommelier, with retailers. So I completely understand and can enjoy a Côte de Rhone which is lighter than mine and which is well made with some good fruit. However, it's not what I love to drink. It's something that I can enjoy sometimes to have. Why not?
Yeah. I always think of Côte de Rhone, just normal Côte de Rhone, almost as a brand. If you buy it at the supermarket, you're expecting something that's sort of mid-priced or cheaper, quite light, easy-going, whereas you can obviously from your ones get something that's a lot more serious as well. So I suppose it comes down to where you're sorting the wines from and the quality of the producer. I was reading, I think Chances Robin said that if you often get better quality Côte de Rhones from producers such as yourself who produce Chateauneuf-du-Pape because you're trying to make something that's a bit more serious.
More intensity.
Yeah, more intensity.
Yeah, well, it makes sense.
Yeah, excellent. Côte de Rhone can come in white and red flavours, so to speak. Do you know sort of the ratio between how much is white and how much is red?
We are close to the Chateauneuf-du-Pape ratio. I think it's perhaps a touch more. It's maybe about 10% white when 90% are reds.
And what's the key grape variety for the white Côte de Rhone?
White Côte de Rhone, first of all, is quite increasing in reputation. I think growers have done more works for that. Most of the grapes used will be Grenache Blanc, Roussanne, Viognier, Clairette. And at the domain, we play the game of the Roussanne, Viognier, and a touch of Clairette.
Roussanne and... Oh, you've got Viognier in yours, haven't you?
Yeah, we also have some Viognier,
Yeah. That's a wee bit unusual down in the southern part of Rhone. You see a lot more Viognier in the northern part.
In the north, of course. But the Viognier in the south, if it's planted on the soil which is not too dry, it will keep freshness. And there are aromatic white peach typicity, pear typicity, will add complexity, will match well the Roussanne. So, well, this is the game we play. And since we started this kind of blend was 8 years ago, 8 years ago. We've seen an increase in the demand of white. When it's well made, it pleases. Voilà. That's a good point. And my mother is from Burgundy, so we always had the knowledge and the family link to know about white fermentation and vinification. But if you look more the global result and improvement in Rhone Valley, I think it's very positive for white these past 10 years.
Okay. Well, we're going to wrap it up there, Christophe. Thank you very much for your time and thank you for letting me try your wines as well.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Cheers, bud.